the Lews Speed Spool has a very special place in my heart. This was one of my first baitcast reels that I ever bought. I upgraded from the Abu Garcia Black Max to this guy right here. I paired it up with an old Powell Inferno rod, and that was kind of my first official, like, decent quality setup that I ever bought with my own money back in middle school. So I've fished the Speed Spools for a long time. However, this is the Gen 3 right here, and we're going to talk about whether I still think this reel is a part of a great line, or if Lews kind of needs to redo everything on this. So let's talk about that. Now, before I'm going to go into the features and my overall thoughts on the reel, we're just going to go over the specs on the one that I have in my hands right here. Now, this guy is the SS1 SHL G3, and this is the gear ratio of 7.5 to 1. The max drag is coming in at 15 pounds. This has 9+1 for bearings. The weight is 7 ounces. The line capacity is 120 yards of 12-pound test, and the MSRP is coming in at $139.99. Now, out of all the features that this reel has, the three that really stuck out to me the most were the high-speed solid brass speed gears, the lightweight aluminum frame, and the recessed magnetic control system. Now, as for looks, Lews kept it very plain with this reel. They kept it very much with the just grays and blacks. The only other color I see in here is the white lettering of the Speed Spool logo, and then a little bit of that gold on the very front of the line guide at just the very front there, and that's pretty much it. The reel is very gray and very black, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it looks still, you know, it's super sleek. It looks really sleek in your hands, and the nice thing about this kind of colorway is that it pairs up very well with a lot of different rods. There is very few rods in the market you could pair this up to, and it wouldn't end up looking good. So, you know, I think that's a big plus on this reel for sure. Now, as for versatility and function, this reel comes in 4 different gear ratios for both left and right hand retrieve, which makes this a total possible combinations of 8, which I feel like is pretty good, especially for those baitcasters kind of in between that $100 to $150 mark. It's pretty good. You've got 8 choices in there. There is a very good shot that no matter what you're fishing for, no matter what technique you're using, this reel, you know, there's a model that will cover what you're trying to do. For an all-around reel, I would probably go with the one that I have in my hands. I would stick with that 7.5 to 1 gear ratio. It's still fast enough for, you know, for driving fish out of the cover, but it's still kind of around that middle ground where if you wanted to slow roll some spinner baits and stuff like that, you just got to slow down a little bit, but you're still going to be able to do it no problem with that reel. So I would definitely go with the 7.5 if you guys are looking for an all-around setup. Now, as for durability and build quality, this reel is made with a one-piece aluminum frame, which I believe is still going to make this a workhorse durable reel, but kept it still pretty lightweight so it feels good in your hands. My old Gen 3 was an absolute tank. I'm still not really nice to my gear, but back then I was riding my bicycle around to all my local ponds. Man, I dropped that thing off my bike so many times and it held up very well, and I believe this one is going to do the same thing on that. Now, as for ergonomics and feel, I kind of talked about it before. I do believe that aluminum frame and the way that they built this reel, it feels nice in your hands. I think it's going to feel good for an entire day of fishing. I do like on this the way to get the spool off. I like that little open click right there. You just click that open, pops your spool out, and then you can put it right back on. Click that, you know, shut that down. It closes the side cap very easy, and some reels that is such a pain in the butt to do, and it's very easy to do on this one. So I believe that's a big plus on this reel. One thing I did notice on this one compared to the other models, or at least this one compared to the Gen 1, was they kind of went away from like the paddle style grips, and they went with more of that kind of sleek, skinny look that Shimano, Daiwa, and a lot of other reel companies have. That is interesting. They also went away, I know some of those Lews for a while. I don't know if they still are. I don't know a whole bunch about Lews products, but I know that a lot of them do the wind grips on there. This one doesn't have that. This one is, the handle itself feels very similar to a Shimano reel, which you guys know me and my Shimano stuff. I'm gonna like that, and I really do like this. I know some people like those larger, you know, the larger handles that were on the older one. I'm sure there's a way if you wanted to switch these out, you could, but keep in mind, I don't think these feel bad at all. I personally like it more than the old model. Now, as for casting, this reel has the magnetic braking on the side plate right here. It is recessed, which makes it really nice when you're holding it in your hands. You know, you don't feel it at all. But I would say, judging based on a lot of complaints online and just what I've had on first impressions, it is very tough to turn that. And I could see on the water, you know, as long as you're not changing it a whole ton, it's not going to be, you know, a big issue. But you definitely have to take both your fingers and kind of, you know, push both of them at the same time, and I feel like that's a little annoying, but the reel itself casts very nice as long as you get that magnetic braking on the side there, and then you adjust your spool tension knob a lot more. I think you're going to be totally fine. You're going to have a great day of casting with this. Now, as for price, I am a little bummed out that it is above that $100 mark. My old Lews that I bought was originally at $99.99. I have actually seen this reel right here go up in price at my local tackle shop. I was gonna make a complaint on the video about that, but then again, Shimano just had a price increase on all of their reels as well. My sub $100 Baitcast reel video this year is going to be very interesting because a lot of these reels got bumped up in price due to tariffs and just things getting a little more expensive. And this reel is one of those now that's in that group. So I used to think that $40 difference from this to the SLX-A was a big, it made a huge difference. But now that the SLX-A is, $115, $120, maybe different the time you guys are watching this, but at least the time I'm filming it, $120, that difference isn't as big now. Would I still prefer the SLX-A over this? 100%. But I do think that difference is becoming a lot smaller, and I feel like this reel is competing a little more after those Shimano price jumps. The Shimano SLX XT also jumped up in price too, and I believe it is now more expensive than this. So I believe those two do a pretty good job of battling it out as well. I do like that SLX XT a little better though. But then again, this is just my opinion. Some of you have had, great experiences with Lews, kind of like I have on this reel. Some of you have had really good experiences with Shimano, and you're a Shimano guy. I totally understand either one. I think whether you get this or the Revo X or the Shimano SLX, I think all three I have very few complaints on. I think all of them are going to be a great workhorse reel. They're going to catch you a lot of fish and cast very well. Based on the price point that this reel is set at the time of filming this video, let's go over the pros and cons here real quick. Now, as for pros, right, this reel looks great. It's going to match up with a ton of different rods on the market. It's also a really durable reel. That one-piece aluminum frame is gonna hold up for you. It's gonna be a workhorse reel that's gonna be great for ponds, bashing it around on a boat, right? It's for giving it to a kid or a buddy that you're not sure treats your gear very well. It's gonna be a great option for that. As for speed, right, you've got a whole bunch of different sizes and combos here. It's gonna work great for that too. This reel also feels really nice in your hands. The way that they made the spool, the side plate remover and that recessed braking system, it feels great to hold in your hands. Now that also brings me to my only con, and that is that recessed braking system makes it a little tougher to get in there and adjust it. But it's not a huge problem once you get that set. It's not like you're messing around with it all day anyway. Now, based on the price of this reel, I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I think they did a great job with all of the features that this reel has, how well it casts, its durability. It has a very soft spot in my heart for being one of the best go-to beginner baitcast reels on the market. Experienced fishermen can use it as well, totally. But I feel like for those of you that are interested in getting a baitcast rod and reel setup, I think this would be a great choice to get started with. Lews is, baitcasters and bass fishing gear is kind of their specialty. I'm not a huge fan of all their stuff, but I think they really killed it with this one. That being said, if they were to drop this reel's price to around what the SLX reel had, I think it would be a better move. I do think that 140 range, I feel like they're getting out of the whole point of what made this reel great. I love that this reel was $100. For $100, this was hands down, like I would say at the time when this was $100, this was number 2 below the SLX as far as best reels in that price range. But $40 is a big jump from $100, right? The $140, like that. Now you're getting into a different kind of market, right? And I think if they were to drop that price down a little, or if Shimano were to keep increasing their prices, right, I think this is going to become even more of a threat in that budget bait cast category. If you guys want to see a review on the Shimano SLX, I will put that right here. If you want to see a rod that would go great with this reel, I'll put that right here for you guys. Hopefully you learned something on today's episode. Hopefully you got a kick out of it. We'll see you guys next time on Humbug Videos.